Let's discuss the meaning of business. Popular business guru has defined business as an institution organized and operated to provide goods and services to the society under the incentive of private gain. So, if we look at this definition, we see the first one is an institution. Right? It's an institution meaning that it has got a broad framework in which there are many private players who can operate in this framework, and they can undertake the activity of doing business. Right. So this activity involves uh, delivery of goods and services to the public, and also manufacturing the goods and services. Another way we can understand the business is from the morning when we get up. We are using so many products and services for our requirements. Do we realize that all these products and services have reached us through the institution of business? Right. If you see the toothpaste, which we see in the morning, there are so many brands we can choose from. Right. And these brands have been manufactured in some parts of the other parts of the world or in India itself. And it has come to stores close to your house from where you have bought it. You have gone through many brands, many toothpastes, and you have seen that I want to select this with this package size and which this brand because of some of the um, uh, aspects which have been written about this particular brand. Kind of you feel satisfied with that, that this one is going to give me satisfaction, so I'm buying this particular paste. But once, if it has been manufactured outside this country, how has it reached India? How has, from India, how has it reached the stores close to your place? How has it been manufactured? All these are activities which have been undertaken by various businesses, and the product and services has reached you. Right? So that kind of an institution it is. It is an institution operated to provide the goods and services to the society. So it has got the permission of the authorities to operate to operate this mechanism of which we call as business. And what kind of another very hallmark of this institution is that the people who undertake this activity are allowed to make profits. That is the definition calls it private gain. Okay, they are allowed to make profits. So it's an institution operated to provide goods and services to the society under the incentive of private gain. So that is the kind of institution it is. So when we analyze this institution a little more closely, we can see that the businessman who undertakes this activity of doing the business has to have a lot of qualities, he has to have a lot of insights, he has to have his acumen and intelligence to be able to operate it so that he can get it a private gain. Correct? He can make his profits. So some of them would be, if we notice the kind of businesses that in our society, some may be very small. Some may be operating it, if for vegetables, he may be operating in the form of a cart. Or you can see some supermarkets who may be keeping the vegetables in some corner where you can go and collect it from, and he may be having so many other products and services also. Or he may be a mall in which he is having a shop and which where he is paying the rent and all the for maintaining that, and he has to make a profit by serving the customers the products in that manner. So his pricing will be different. Right? His pricing will be different. So you can see that the businessman has got a lot of incentives and a lot of frameworks by which he has to able to be operated profitably. It is his wish how he wants to do it. That is another reason why we call it as a business, and we use the term sometimes very colloquially. You mind your business, I'm minding my business, because of the different varieties of ways in which people can undertake this activity. Correct? So you have to be convinced that you are able to do it in a profitable manner, in a manner by which others, your customers, they have to get satisfaction. Then only they will come to you regularly, and you will also be able to do it at a profit. So this kind of activity is called as business. Okay? So if we analyze a little more closely, what kind of characteristics are there in this particular business? What are the characteristics of this institution of business? First of all, it is an economic activity, right? So it is an economic activity. If you look around us, you can see that some products and services are offered to you, which is not business. For example, electricity supply. We cannot strictly call it a business because the government is providing it. It is not given to the private players as a um, economic activity which they can undertake. The government itself is doing it. So strictly, we cannot call it a business. But colloquially, we can say that they are doing their business. Right? Colloquially, we can say that they are doing their business. But strictly speaking, it is not a business because it has not been given to the private players and it is not run under incentive of a private game where they are allowed to make profits which they are confident of making, which they are confident of making, they can make so much profits. Right? It depends upon the customer. It depends upon some ethical aspects. Also, whether to charge so high, is it ethical? If they can charge it, should they charge it? All these are some ethical aspects. There are so many ethical aspects also in the business. So, apart from that, but technically speaking, nothing is going to come in their way if the customer is getting satisfaction. Nothing should be coming in their way to make how much profits they can. Right? There are other players also who can come in and who can participate in that. This institution doesn't stop others from entering and providing the products and services. So I hope you have got okay. So it's a first, it's an economic activity. Second, this activity has got a lot of risk and uncertainty because you know that the businessman has to put some money upfront for doing the business. He's spending his time and effort, and if he is not very, if he does not have the businessman's acumen of having a good amount of way to attract the customers, get the trust of the customers, in the long time, and the long time be able to convince that he's genuine businessman and he has to do all this at a profit. Correct. So he has an economic activity that he should have that skill. The risk and uncertainty is present in this particular business, right? There is a lot of risk and uncertainty in the business activities because this upfront money which he puts, he may not be able to get it back if he does not have the skills that then he will not be able to get it back. Or some other person comes and does some business in a little more powerful manner where his costs are less and he's able to serve the customer better. Then he will be in problem. The original person will be in problem. So there's a risk and uncertainty in the business. There are other characteristics of the business. Next, the legality of the business, right? The business has to be run in some rules and regulations which is given by the authorities, right? Otherwise, it becomes illegal. For example, gambling is not a legal business in India. That is one part of it, legality. Next, if you are starting a hotel business, you should have the required license from the food inspector. Without that license, you can't run a hotel business. They'll come and they'll charge fine. Recently, we came to know that the shopkeepers were told not to use polythene covers for packing. Right? If an inspector can come in and just notice if he's using a polythene cover, he can just issue a fine. I think it goes up to 10,000 rupees. He just issue a fine on the spot. So the business has to be run under some rules and regulations. This is the legality of the business. Next, there has to be some regular dealings. It cannot be like you just do a real estate in part time. Then only it becomes like a colloquial language that you have done some business. But for it to be technically called a regular business, there has to be a continuity in that, right? You should be able to do it in a continuous manner. The products and services has to come to your outlet if you are a retailer, or it should come to your go down if you are a distributor. And regularly, it should be the customers should be coming and buying the products and services, and there has to be regular movement of your products and services. Then only we call it as a business. So there has to be continuity in the regular dealings of the activity. Then only we can technically call it as a business. Next characteristics of the business is that there is a production also and there's an exchange also. Some businesses exist for producing the items, right? A close-up manufacturer, his basic acumen is that he is producing that item and he knows how to do that with profit. and then he has got some mechanism by which others will come and take it, right? So there is a production aspect of the business. There is also a selling part of the business. So exchange also has to be there, and ultimate exchange is with the customer, and that customer exchange we call as the retail business, correct? So there has to be production and exchange. That is another very much characteristics of the business. And another characteristics of the business is the profit motive, right? We already discussed that in the definition itself. Business is undertaken by profit motive. Of course, there has to be customer satisfaction, right? But customer satisfaction um, is though important, the fundamental criteria by which a businessman undertakes this activity, which we said is the skill of the businessman, the personality of the businessman. Some of them can be somewhat fraudulent. Then it becomes unethical business. But genuinely, there are some businessmen who know how to take this activity properly, and they are able to even do the activities better than the government and better than non-business people how they do it. Right? You go to government hospitals or something like that, you will not get the same treatment. Right? There is something lacking in that. The business people are able to do it better, and of course, the customer satisfaction is there. But there is a profit motive in every business. There's a profit motive in every business that we should always keep in mind. That is another characteristics of the business. Next characteristics of the business is that it can be dealing with both goods and services. Goods are products, tangible products like our soaps and things like that. Then certain or shampoos. There are some other businesses like our haircut, which we call like a service. So businesses are there in both the products as well as services, goods and services. Right. So we have just discussed what the business is, what is the meaning of this activity of business, and we have said what the characteristics of this business. Okay. So thank you.